welcome to this edition of Wake Up and Live with the Arts. I am Sue Johnson. I am hosting here today with Beverly Kristy, and we have several exciting guests that we want you to meet. So we are glad that you have tuned in on our YouTube show, Wake Up and Live with the Arts. So let's talk a little bit with Beverly Kristy, who is not only co-hosting, but you have a film career in high gear, plus you have something in common with our first guest, if you will, Don Iannone, who will be talking with us shortly about his specialties. And I just called him a triple threat in terms of his photography, Reiki, and poetry. And you are the true artiste. So Beverly, let's start with you, hon.
Okay.
Tell me a little bit about what's been going on with your latest film projects and what you got coming up.
Our latest, what's coming up is a film in production called Our Second Chance, being filmed in Youngstown and Warren area. And it's a biography of, I'm not even going to be able to say his name right, a gentleman who suffered from brain cancer, but all the while he had brain cancer, he founded a camp for other cancer victims, and this is a telling of his life. So I can't speak too much on that because we're only
It's still under wraps in a way.
Right. I did complete a film earlier this year for the great folks down at Ohio University. Have a wonderful film production group called 419 Productions, and they did a film called The Row House, and I got to go to Gnaddenhutten. Gnaddenhutten, yes. This is one of the lovely things I love about my career is that I go so many places I would never go. I've heard of, but I don't have a reason to go there. So that was filmed at a wonderful bed and breakfast in Gnaddenhutten called the Brick House on Main Street.
Okay.
And it's a little ghost story, and it was completely, I was just completely entranced by the whole experience. So much professionalism from students, the producers, the innkeepers were very involved. They were like, just so embraced the whole experience. And the entire film class must have had a part. There had to be 30 students on the property at a time, but
now, were
turned
you
out
the
extremely
producer,
well.
The director,
I was an actress. I had a supporting role in that.
Okay, yeah. And what was the role you played?
Well, in the audition call, it was called The Old Woman. So she's a very enigmatic character. She comes across as being ghostly. The inn is supposedly haunted.
Okay.
So I won't go further and give you any more details because it's still a bit of a mystery.
Okay.
But
now, is it on YouTube? Is it out for general distribution?
It's on YouTube, but not for the public to view. And
okay.
I think they plan on, if their budget allows, they plan on sending it to festivals.
Okay, so they will be releasing it hopefully
yes,
one way
I hope
another.
they do. It's extremely well done.
Okay. Now, so you've been busy with all your film work. Also, it turns out you and Don, our guest, have something in common called Reiki.
Right.
Can you explain a little bit about what Reiki is?
I can. It's Reiki is the universal life force that keeps all things alive and moving, and Reiki is a skill that allows an individual to channel that energy to another person, another group of persons, to an animal, to the world in general, all for their betterment. Reiki is only a positive force. There's never anything negative associated with it. It's a non-religious practice. Anyone can do it as long as they're interested. And I will let Don add to that.
I agree. I think my wife Mary and I, and we were discussing Mary and her career shift from the Cleveland Clinic to doing Reiki and healthcare consulting. But we decided that we really needed to make an investment in self-healing.
Which is part of the whole holistic movement.
It is.
Yes.
It is. So that led us to Reiki. And so over the last 5 years, we've had the opportunity to study under some great teachers, and we continue to study and practice. And I think the thing that we've learned, and we were talking about this earlier, Beverly, is that Reiki is really a way of life.
It's a life force. What you were saying, it's a life force. Yes, go ahead.
And what it's come to mean to me is really, because you asked about our new company, which is called Praesentia, which is really about giving presence. And I think Reiki, much like photography and poetry, have been an opportunity to give presence in the world. It's like everything, it's important for everybody to come to their own understanding of these things. As a Reiki Master, it's important that we offer an appropriate explanation of what it's all about, which I think is, it is very much tied to the process of healing. What the scientific research points to is that it has a major impact on relaxation, certainly stress reduction, which we know triggers a lot of things in our life. We're stressed out.
It's the base.
Yeah, right, it is. So it makes our system really overwork. But Reiki is a powerful thing. I do it twice a day, in the morning and evening, self-Reiki, and we have treatments that we do with others. We do it on each other. You mentioned pets and animals. So there's a whole area of Reiki that relates to using Reiki therapy with animals.
And
it works.
Yeah, I've seen where now that the animals are getting stress management care and techniques and so forth. This is a surprise, but are you able to do a very small demonstration, either on you or like Beverly's shoulders?
Certainly. I'd be happy to. Is that okay with you?
Sure.
Yeah, so we'll do her shoulders and watch demonstrate how this healing energy works, because you don't really touch the client. Are they called clients or patients?
Yes, and we're doing some of the symbols, the first two symbols, and it's really a very gentle healing touch.
Yes.
You can do it with the hands on, or you can do it with the hands above. We start, often with the crown chakra, the top of the head, and work down to the third eye chakra, which is, over the eyes, and then the throat chakra, and then on down with the body.
And just to let folks know who are not familiar with the holistics, and I'll even say metaphysical aspects, the chakras are the points in the body where the life force and energy radiate from. And some folks say there are 7, some folks say there are 8. Which do you subscribe to?
Well,
7 or 8 chakras?
It's kind of like the constellations in the sky, isn't it? You have major and minor. And when you get into other branches of Reiki, you actually find that there are more than that.
Oh, okay.
But the 7 main ones, I think, are the ones that the Usui school out of Japan tends to focus on. I find that one of the first things is to do a scan, to really get a sense of somebody's energy. And you can say, well, what's that all about? If we believe in spirit, soul, and aura, if we believe that there clearly is an energy field that is within and about us, then we develop, I think, an orientation to the world that says that it's not just what we do, with our words, it's not just what we do with, our actions, but just by being present.
In
we
the
have
moment.
an impact in the moment.
And that applies to life in general and acting, because we are all focused on what's happening next. Where are we going tomorrow? Instead of, I am here right now in this moment. And you know what I like to do in a beginner's situation that's not familiar with this is that exercise where you rub your hands together quickly. Now this is non-holistic as such. Well, it's part of it. but you rub your hands together very rapidly, and if you place them just a little bit apart, you can feel the energy between the two hands, so that for folks who may tend to be, I don't like to say non-believers, but non-believer skeptics who don't understand that we are all created in energy and that it manifests different ways, but just doing this little heat exercise will begin to orient folks to, yeah, this really is something with the energy.
It is.
Sure.
Yeah.
So there's well over 800 major hospitals across America that use Reiki.
Oh, really? Now that's news to me.
So
Okay.
you name a hospital in Cleveland and they are using Reiki. Sometimes it's the nursing staff, and you're a nurse by training, I just found out. Nurses have played a major role in bringing Reiki into healthcare.
Okay.
And I think it's just a wonderful thing. Volunteers can do that.
Right.
So there's plenty of opportunities from that. But it's now seen, it is a complementary health practice, which means it's used in conjunction with traditional medicine. So in the case of cancer treatment, patients would undergo their prescribed treatments with their physician, but Reiki would be used in complement.
The same as imagery.
Guided
and-
imagery, yes.
Yeah, guided
Acupuncture.
imagery, acupuncture, pressure.
Very
Yeah.
much so. So I think it's important not to have expectations, and that's the thing that as I've matured, because sometimes you get so into thinking, I have something to do with this, It's just like, the best I can do is get myself out of the way
Right,
and
right.
let what is out there, as you described as a universal life force energy, do its work. And it's for the highest and greatest good, because all of us think, well, gee, I'd like to heal that hip pain. I just had a new hip put in 5 months ago. So it's just like, gee, but it's different than that. It's really being, much more open to, what that life energy has to offer.
Right, the universal force, the universal life
yes.
presence. How long have you been studying Reiki for yourself?
My first attunement was 11 years ago.
Oh, so you've been working at, how long have you been studying? You said 5 years.
5 years, yes. And, there's a time in between when you really need to work on practice.
Of course.
But it's, it's a lifelong learning journey.
As is most everything in life.
Yeah.
Everything, So it's manifested itself in, different ways through poetry, photography. I think Reiki is a way of doing that. Reiki to me is an art form, just as, poetry is, and certainly photography. But I think it's, you really get the sense that you are really the instrument. You're not as much in control as when I push the button on that camera and take a picture, or when I put words on a page.
Speaking of
So.
which, that is a great segue about you being well, we know how spiritual that you are, but it comes through in your poetry, and you brought a selection
I did.
for us to hear, which also exemplifies how your spirituality permeates, well, everything that you do, and Mary, because you just can't help yourself. You're open to the guided spirit coming in and leading you, because you will hear true metaphysicians, holistic healers will say that it's not me, just let my mouth, my heart, my mind be guided by the life force, the higher power. Some people might call it God. I mean, there's so many names, Allah, Buddha, Jehovah, Yahweh, whatever you want to be guided by, and open up and let that Holy Spirit come through you, which does in your poetry and your photography, which
Well,
we'll
thank you.
take a look at
Thank you.
in a moment. So you want to tell
I'd
us
be
about
delighted. So this is called Speaking Out About the Unspeakable, and it's a collection of poems and photographs on human trafficking,
Okay.
which I owe this whole book and everything else to Renee Jones from the Renee Jones Empowerment Center, because she invited me to come in and photograph some of the survivors that were in a position to do that, and to help tell the story of human trafficking survivors. To say the least, I learned a lot. And I think
I'm
this is
amazed
well, it's,
that
especially for men, because men are so much more removed from this. I think women, they get it a lot more.
Yeah.
But it's a horrific thing that has exists everywhere.
And it permeates our country more than I
Yeah, it does.
was aware of.
It does.
And it is really scary. And I don't know about you, but I know you and I are sort of an age where when we were kids, we just went tripping and traipsing down the streets
We did.
by ourselves. We
Yeah.
played outside.
And my kids as well.
Yeah.
they're
And
doing it.
now,
Yes, that's true.
if you see a kid out there by himself, herself, you go, oh God, is that kid all right? And now you don't even really see kids out
Sure.
by themselves because stuff happens so quickly. So what is the poem about? It's your trafficking?
So, if you
And-
like, I'll read one. It goes with
Please.
the photograph, which is a picture of an
Turning-
exchange
so for the
of
camera.
money.
Uh-huh.
And the poem is entitled Transactions.
Okay.
Life consists of transactions, those we make with others and those we make with ourselves. Now that I'm far enough away from my time on the streets, doing whatever I was asked to do for money, I see that every transaction I made with others was also a transaction with myself. For 9 long, unimaginable years, to survive, I traded my natural-born goodness to the devil within me for crack, uppers, downers, and everything in between. And now, to truly set myself free, I have stopped the transactions with my devil and cut a deal with my God to get back my goodness.
Wow.
So this is based upon a true story, and each photograph has a poem that tells the story of the photograph. Some
Okay.
cases I could not use the photograph, so I was able to just use, that to create a story poem.
Examples, yeah. And you can be reached as an author by your website,
Sure.
Facebook. What's your best address for folks to contact you about your works, or if they want to buy one?
Sure.
Okay.
So my website is Donald Iannone. That's Donald, IANNONE.com. DonaldIannone.com.
And we will have that scrawled across the bottom of the screen as well. Now, this is one example
Yes.
of your poetry with a photo. What is that book, Chasing Cosmic Butterflies?
Chasing Cosmic Butterflies. So this takes us back to our childhood. And, I think most of us have chased dreams through life. And this book was dedicated to a dear friend of mine, who was my college roommate at the University of Arizona, who died suddenly of a massive heart attack in 2014.
Ooh, my.
His name was Dirk Jansen. And Dirk and I spent a lot of time, not just during our college days, but, for 45 years, chasing cosmic butterflies.
Okay. And do you
So-
have an example of one of the poems that goes with that?
I
or
do.
a photo that
I do.
goes
Do you want me
with-
to read one?
Sure. If it's short, yes.
Okay. Well, let's do Dangling Winter Leaves. Dangling winter leaves, strangers to each other and to the world watching on, quietly hoping for a sign there is something more, something worth dangling for. Dangling winter leaves, strangers to reason and to that which it demands. Like leaves clinging to their branches, each of us, you and me, cling to our breath. Dangling winter leaves, faded, tattered, icy reminders, long past their season, beyond all reason, holding on to our gaze as we hold on to them.
Isn't that pretty? Yeah. So Who designed the cover? Is that one of your photographs
I
on the
did.
cover?
I did.
Let's hold
Very
it up to
pretty.
take a look at
Well,
that.
as a matter of fact, you don't have copies of the 2 latest books, so I brought you copies.
Well, bless your sweet
And
heart.
they've been signed. Let me get these little stickums out here that have become a way of life, haven't
And
they?
these butterflies are examples of Don's photography. And I want you to go now to Facebook.
Thank you.
Well, not right this minute, but go to Don's Facebook page and look him up and look at all the gorgeous photography that he does to go along with all the gorgeous poetry. And, this was your original
This
business.
is the new one.
Yeah,
This is the new one.
Poetic and Philosophical Reflections on Economic Development. And tell us a little bit about what this refers to.
So I felt for a long time, and I've worked in economic development for 40 years.
You sure have,
That is
yes.
a long time.
And you helped, James was there, and
James
you
was there.
helped us with our company a long time ago.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
So this is really an attempt to use poetry to find some new philosophical roots for economic development, which unfortunately has served the few in the world at the expense of the many. So this book uses poetry to provide some philosophical insights into economic development. Some of them are very personal stories, others are drawn from things that happen in the news, as we were talking about earlier, things that you really don't want to read about. But it's important that we understand why we do things in life. And I think it's important to understand, our philosophical foundations. People often won't read a 400-page book on philosophy, but they will read a series of 25 or 30 poems that talk about the philosophy of economic development.
I remember in college I would not take philosophy because I did not want to read. I took psychology instead. I love that, and it
Yeah.
has served me well. But philosophy, all the philosophers of the world, I wasn't ready for them, but
Yeah.
now I can handle it. And lastly, because we've had quite a segment here, again, if you go to his Facebook page, I don't know, just Google Don Iannone.
You'll find me.
The only thing you really don't photograph are people. It's landscapes, seascapes.
Oh,
You got some people in there?
yeah.
Oh,
Plenty of
Yeah, I
people
see
in this
people.
book. So,
find the one you
There you
like
go.
a lot. Okay.
how about Mansfield Fraser?
Oh, wow. Wow.
That's
I
when
think I've heard about him.
he started the vineyard Chateau Huff,
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
and so he invited me to come down and take some pictures, which I did.
See, here we go. I like the title, Encountering the Soul of
I
Cleveland.
like that, yeah.
Yeah, images conveying Cleveland's sense of place. Now, your works, to me, are so beautiful. Are you hanging anywhere in a gallery or in someplace like Progressive or the hospitals?
Yes.
Are you hanging anywhere?
Yes, yes. So the book on human trafficking was exhibited in 5 different places. The FBI actually had 2 sessions on with the Cleveland Collaborative to end human trafficking. So the exhibit was used there. It was at Notre Dame College. It was at the West Shore Unitarian Church.
Oh, yes.
It was out in Oberlin. And this book was exhibited at the Beechwood Public Library, which is
Okay.
affiliated with Cuyahoga County Library. So yes, but at this moment, I don't have an exhibit, but
Okay.
that's not to say it couldn't happen,
No, but hey, you're well on your way as far as I'm concerned. Now, as we begin to close out this segment, what is your email address, your website again?
Okay.
We've mentioned the Facebook so that you can find many, many, many of his beautiful. In fact, you've got so many that I don't always what is that? Like, comment, share.
There you go.
But I've had something weird with my Facebook. Sometimes it only says like and comment. It doesn't have share.
That's
Okay.
because you haven't liked that you're not on a friend relationship with that particular entity.
Oh, well, I thought I was.
Well, go back and check.
Okay. What is your website, darling?
So the website is Donald Iannone. That's Donald, IANNONE.com. My email is DIANNONE@gmail.com, like 90 million other people. I now have a Gmail account. So.
At least that.
Yeah.
Of course, his Facebook page. Do you have a public telephone number that you like people to contact? Or?
Well, I don't. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Neither do
Yeah.
I.
Yeah.
I mean, now on the internet, I don't have my phone and address on that.
Can I say just one thing? Because, you know, I think for all of this, you know, I see myself as, and I didn't at the beginning, but really as a vehicle. It's just like Reiki. It's not any different than that anymore. The poetry is no different than that, and photography is the same. So, can't take a lot of credit for it. Other than the fact that I'm still enough to push the button, you know.
And
what
you're a
appears to be the right
vessel.
time. A vessel.
You're a vessel.
Yeah.
And these are famous shots of the Cleveland West Side Market, which everybody remembers.
Great
And-
place.
Yeah, and this is the entry to the James A. Garfield Memorial over at Lakeview Cemetery. And this sounds strange. You really have to go see Lakeview Cemetery.
You do, yeah.
It is
Isn't it wonderful?
gorgeous.
Yeah.
It is, I don't know how else to describe it, but
So,
have you ever been through
Daffodil
I'm
it?
ashamed
Hill.
to say I haven't. It's on my list for sure.
Yeah.
Daffodil Hill. You have to see the daffodils in April.
In April, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Mr. Iannone, I am so thrilled that we have reconnected. And Beverly, we have reconnected in person anyway, because
Sure.
I've been watching you through your photos on the internet. You and I email things. So thank you for joining us and being our guest. And you're going to stick around, and we're getting ready to talk to Darnell Weaver from the Rainey Institute, which is a 100-year-old plus now youth, arts, entertainment, education organization, which offers beyond belief which is a 100-year-old plus now youth, arts, entertainment, education.